Hey there, welcome back to No Recipe Required. It's Dave. Today I'm going to show you how to cook a steak. I always get comments from friends and relatives, people posting on the website, tell me more about how to cook a steak to the right doneness. I'm going to go through really 5 basic rules that I follow, get you to the good steak, right doneness, great flavor every single time. Let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so we're going to talk about cooking the perfect steak and my 5 rules for cooking the perfect steak. First rule is know your steak. What do I mean by that? So obviously you need to know what you're cooking. You need to know this is a ribeye. Are you cooking a ribeye? Are you cooking a New York strip? Are you cooking a filet mignon? Are you cooking a London broil? What are you cooking? Because that's going to help determine the doneness and what you can do and what kind of the right or what the best temperature to cook it at is. Something like a flank steak, I think can go a little bit further done than say a filet mignon. You also want to know the thickness of the steak, right? Thickness will determine time that is required to cook. The thicker the steak, the longer the time it's going to take to get to the right temperature in the middle of the steak. You also got to look for things like a bone. This particular steak is a bone-in ribeye. Bones will generally delay the cooking process, make it a little bit longer, so the meat right along the bone will tend to stay a little less cooked or more rare than the rest of the steak. Once you observe, pay attention to, okay, this size steak took this long to cook, you become accustomed to gauging the right temperature. It also, again, thickness will help determine how much seasoning you need on the steak as well. Rule number 2 on the steak is give it a good seasoning. When I talk about seasoning, I'm talking about salt and pepper. If you wanted to do some other kind of spice, chili powder, cumin, whatever you want, absolutely you can do it. But that salt and pepper is critical. And again, it's influenced by knowing your meat. If you got a thicker piece like this, you need more seasoning to carry all the way through the piece. If you got a thinner, you can get away with less. I like to use kosher salt because it's got a thicker grain to it and kind of sticks to the meat better. And then I use fresh ground pepper as well. I give that seasoning a good press down into the meat as well. And you want to season both sides. It's important to do both sides, again, because you got a big piece of meat here. And who knows, you might cut it in half as you're eating it and only get on one-sided seasoning taste in your mouth. And you don't want that. You can be pretty generous, especially with a steak, this size, because a bunch of that seasoning is going to fall off, either in the pan or on the grill, wherever you're cooking it. Once you get it seasoned, we're ready to sear it off. Okay, let's talk about what are we on? 5th, 6th, the 3rd rule of great steak cooking, and that is getting a good sear. This might be the scariest part for a lot of people because you got to go with a pan that is really blistering hot. If you're outside on the grill, same principles apply. You want to get the grill as hot as possible. A nice little test. I've got a bowl of water here. It's a dry pan. I just put the water in there and see how it kind of dances around the pan? That's what you're looking for. Super hot. Pan should probably be smoking a little bit. And certainly it's going to start smoking once I put this oil in it. I want to make sure that water is out of my pan before I put the oil in it. Oil and water don't mix well. I'm going to go ahead, put a good couple drizzles in there, make sure we got the bottom of the pan coated. You can see the smoke coming off of it. That's what we're looking for. And then you should hear a lot of noise once we drop our steak in. So that noise is exactly what we're looking for. That's the sear on the steak. And it's going to build that nice tasty crust on the outside, and it's going to obviously cook the piece of meat. So the key factor here, in addition to a hot pan, is really just not flipping the meat. Notice I'm not going to go in there and start moving it around or even really shaking the pan. It won't stick. Don't worry about it. After 4 minutes, I'm going to say, for this piece of steak. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, all at full heat, as high as it can go. And then we're going to finish it off in the oven. Okay, my fourth rule on cooking a great steak is all about doneness. You got to know, frankly, personally, how well you like your steak done. Are you a raw person? Are you a well done person? I'm kind of in the middle. Probably medium rare. I like to lean towards rare than lean towards well done. But frankly, it's up to you. Now there's two good ways I know about to tell doneness. One is to use a meat thermometer. I like to use this kind, got a nice long string attached to it, and the readout here so that you can stick it in the meat and have this on the outside of the oven. Once you get to the desired temperature, you can pop it out. I don't particularly like the kind where, well, I guess it's more a use than a type of thermometer. I don't like the technique of testing it, pulling the thermometer out, waiting a few minutes, testing it again, creating new holes in the meat. That's just really puncturing the flesh and driving juice out of the steak. If you're going to use one, put it in and leave it alone until till you get to the right doneness. Like I said, for me, I'll pull it out probably 125, maybe between 125 and 130 for that nice medium rare. Lots of temperature tables out on the internet. You can find one pretty easily. The other way to test doneness is to use the firmness of the meat technique. Let me show you on my hand. So the firmer a piece of meat feels when you tap it, the more well done it is. The more it gives, the less well done, the more on the rare side it is. So a simple test to get used to it is to kind of use a finger technique here. By rotating your finger, you touch your index finger, and this puts kind of the least tension on this little paw part of your hand here, and that generally equates to a rare piece of meat. If you go to the middle finger, you'll notice it gets a little firmer, and we start getting into a medium piece of meat. Down to the ring finger, firmer yet, all the way down to the pinky. If you feel that, it's pretty darn tight right here. And this is essentially kind of the feel of a well done piece of meat. I think it's a little tough to gauge this and then test the meat and then go like that. The point is more just to get you familiar with how softness and the feel of the meat kind of varies with temperature. And then the first few times maybe you cook a steak or use one of these thermometers, feel it as you go along. And remember, what those different feelings are like so that you can replicate it over time. You definitely want to make sure your steak is done to the right temperature. That's a key factor. Okay, my steak's been searing for about 4 minutes now, and this is why I say it can be scary. You can see all the smoke coming off the pan. If you got a hood oven or a hood vent, you should probably turn that on. The pan is starting to look a little crusty on the outside, but we flip it over, and it's absolutely fine. You've got that nice char on the outside. All the fat is kind of rendered off and burnt off, which is absolutely what we're looking for. And yet that center is still going to be nice and pink when we cut it. So I went ahead and turned this over. The other side is going to sear off, and while it does that, to finish cooking, it would take a really long time, and we'd have to do a few flips. I don't particularly like to flip meat or steaks around a whole lot. I generally do one side, then flip it around, do the other side, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead, take this, put it into a 400-degree oven, and it's probably going to take another 8 minutes or so for this size steak to get it to the doneness I want. You can either, like I said, use the meat thermometer or start using the old field test. Okay, so I just pulled the steak out of the oven, and the final rule in the 5-rule plan is to let the steak rest. I've got some aluminum foil here. I'm going to go ahead and drop the steak on there, and then wrap it up. Resting the steak, allows all the juices in there to just kind of relax and cool down a little bit. The foil will actually keep the steak fairly hot, but if you cut into it now, everything just kind of runs off the plate, and you actually end up with dry steak, even if it is to the proper doneness, like a rare, medium rare doneness. So go ahead, wrap it up. Steak this size, at least 5 minutes, up to 10 I think is totally fine. You can keep it in a warm part of the kitchen, maybe top of the stove. You don't want it on direct heat because it'll continue to cook. Okay, I just removed my steak from the foil, let it rest. By the way, the juice that collects in here, if you've got a sauce going, I would definitely add that. It is absolutely awesome. And then you can go ahead and serve your steak any way you want. You can serve it whole, give this whole piece to somebody, or go ahead and slice it like I'm doing and just serve up a few pieces at a time. Let me grab a little plate here. And we got it perfectly cooked. Little piece of ribeye here. I make a little tower, why not? Then go ahead with our side dishes around the steak. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required.